Hello everyone and welcome to this month's Training Tuesday for April. Today's topic is for March, wow. Welcome to our March Training Tuesday event for OU Campus. Today's topic is XSL 3.0. We're going to look at some of the new features available with XSL 3.0 and how you can utilize them in OU Campus. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode as this session is being recorded. If you have a question during the presentation, please use the Q&A function found at the bottom of your screen. We will attempt to address your questions during the presentation. After the formal presentation is ended, we will review and answer all remaining questions. Your presenter today is Corey Madden, Web Developer Team Lead. Corey, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank you guys for joining on this XSL 3.0 training. All right. Let me go. So the plan today is to go through the PowerPoint and then do some hands-on work at the end. And the first step for the agenda is going to be the expand text. Then we're going to go through function chaining. Then we're going to go through concatenation shorthand. And then the final item that we'll be covering is XSL mode. So the whole point of today's training is to basically show you the new features that are part of XSL 3.0, as well as potential ways that you can update your XSLs as needed with these new functionalities. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into expand text. All right, so expand text can appear on any element in your XSL. It can appear on the items that are namespaced with the XSL, as well as regular, paragraph tags, heading tags, etc. It's only valid in XSL 3.0. That's very important because this, in previous versions such as XSL 2.0, this would not work. It would cause an error on output if you tried to apply this. So there's two options with expand text. It's either a value of yes or a value of no. The default, of course, is no if it's not defined. So that's where the expand text equals yes would come into play. So basically, what does XSL expand text do? Basically, it determines whether the nodes below it will be treated in a similar fashion to XSL value of. So one thing to note when using expand text, though, is be very careful when expand text is set to yes, especially when you're trying to output CSS or JavaScript. Just because expand text does use the curly braces, so if you know CSS and JavaScript, as well as PHP, they all have that curly brace logic, so it does get a little funky when you do that. One thing that I would do is for these sections of your XSL, I would just set the expand text to no. All right. And so as you can see, this is the old way here at the top. So you do XSL value of, we have a value of heading, and then it's just wrapped in a paragraph. Then we also would just have a simple loop that's just going to count 1 to 10. And there's a function in XSL called position. So we're basically just outputting 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10. And as you can see with the new way, you can basically do it like this. So since the paragraph is not in the XSL namespace, we have to define the XSL namespace attribute of expand text is set to yes, and then we just use these nice little curly brace notations to output the heading. And as you can see, it's similar fashion to the list, where it's basically you're doing a 1 to 10 again, but then since this item is inside of the XSL namespace, you don't have to define this XSL : expand text. You can just do expand text. And then as you can see, the position is the same idea as what we were doing with the heading. So it's pretty straightforward. It helps you, similarize your XSL similar to how you output attributes. So it's very, very useful. But the biggest thing is the XSL value of, if that's what you like to use, that is still perfectly valid. Even if you set expand text to yes and then you use the value of in the middle of it, that's perfectly fine. All right, so moving on, we have function chaining. It's commonly known as an arrow operator. It's pretty similar to other programming languages such as PHP and JavaScript. Again, this is only valid in XSL 3.0. If you try to use it in XSL 2.0 or 1.0, it's going to give you a full error. So basically, what function chaining is it's using the value of an expression to apply to a function as the first argument to the function. So basically, what it does is, if you guys are familiar with replace or tokenize, basically it decreases the parameter count by 1. So replace has 3, but when using function chaining, you can just pass it in 2 because the first value is implied before the arrow operator, basically. So basically, the biggest thing that I see with function chaining is it helps you drastically to stay organized with parentheses. Sometimes you have to do multiple replaces on a string, so you want to, you end up with like 10 parentheses at the end. Otherwise, with this, you don't have to really worry about this because all of the parentheses are self-contained. The biggest thing is you can see at the top right here, I have an example -1, which is just 3 values. We just have value 1, value 2, value 3. We see that we have a comma delimited variable. And then you can see with the old way, you just do a for each, you do a tokenized lowercase the variable example 1, and then we just want to tokenize it by a comma space. And then you can see we're just outputting that. So we just get a simple list of value 1, value 2, value 3. You can see at the bottom, the new way, it's a lot easier to actually see the parenthesis closures. So as you can see, we do example 1, and then we use the arrow operator. And then we say we want to lowercase that. And then we want to tokenize that string. So basically you can use the arrow operator or function chaining as it's known, like what I like to call it. You can use this multiple times as you want in a given expression. So you can see these 2 values, with the old way and the new way, they give you the exact same output. But you can see that the new way is a lot more organized and easier to follow. This is pretty similar to other programming languages as well. All right, so then going on to the next item, we have the concatenation shorthand. So this is very, very useful in a way to shorten your concatenation statements. Again, this is only valid in XSL 3.0. So it's very good to use to shorten your concatenation statements, but sometimes it's actually better to use the regular concat function. Biggest thing with this though is it does cause confusion because it's a double pipe, which does mean or in other programming languages. So it might be harder for a new developer coming in and saying, what is this double pipe? Why isn't it doing an or? And then just due to XSL, it's actually a concat. So you can see here at the top, I have a variable. So I just have var1, my name, my first name, and then var2, which is my last name, and then on the update as var3. You can see with the old way, we do the concat, we do a var1, then we have to put a space between that word, and then we do var2, and then we put another space between that, and then we do var3. And you can see in the new way at the bottom of the slide is it's var1 double pipe, a space, double pipe, var2 double pipe, and then it's another space, and then now we do one more double pipe, and then var3. You can see in this explicit example that the character count is exactly the same. So this is kind of a use case where either way is perfectly valid. But it's whatever makes the most sense to you. But the biggest thing, as you could see potentially in the future of a new developer coming in here and saying, oh, I'm doing var1 or space or var2 or space, etc. So it does cause that slight little bit of confusion. All right, then the last topic before we jump in and do some hands-on is XSL mode. So to give a little bit of backstory on what mode is, basically mode is a way to separate XSL template matches during XSL apply templates. Again, this way of declaring XSL mode is only valid in XSL 3.0. With this new way, it allows for very easy defining of different modes. So in the old way, it was very, very challenging, but with this new way, it's so much easier. There is also different types of copy effects. We primarily use the option called shallow copy. With our newer implementations, you might not necessarily see this code in your implementation just due to how we organize our XSLs. So bear in mind that we basically use shallow copy with no mode at all. It's just, the default mode. Like I said, the old way of defining mode was very, very complicated, required a lot of copy pasting, wasn't very, very user friendly. So with this new XSL mode, it's a lot easier. And the new way, you might be asking, is it's simply one line compared to the old way, which was like 7 lines. So with this way, I can definitely guarantee that your XSL will be 6 lines shorter in terms of, managing. So it's very, very, very nice. So you can see at the top, we have the old way. So you can see that we have 2 template matches. So the old way, basically, there was a template match for all of the attributes, all of the text, all of the comments. And then we just, we define that the mode is called first mode. And then we're just doing a copy of those. And then the second one is a match on the element with the same mode of first mode. Then we are recreating the element with the same element. So if it was a paragraph, it was a heading, if it was a UL or LI, we would just apply templates to the attribute and the node and giving this very, very nice shorthand of #current, which is basically first mode. So that's like an implied that it means first mode. And then you can see at the bottom, as you can see, it's XSL mode, on no match, shallow copy, name equals first mode. So again, I can definitely say that your XSL will be a lot shorter if you use the XSL mode. All right. Are there any questions at all? Anything, using the QA at the bottom that I can address? Otherwise, I'm going to jump in and actually do some hands-on. All right. There are no questions. So let me escape out and let me go back over to my sandbox and show you guys these in action. All right, so I should be in OU Campus for you guys right now. If there is any issues displaying, let the QA section know. So as you can see, I'm going to have 2 tabs mostly. I'm going to have this page that actually has the rendered out version of the page, and then also some XSL. So the biggest thing is we're going to do expand text first, then function chaining, then concatenation, then XSL mode. All right, so starting off with XSL mode, we can see that if I uncomment these lines and I do a save, I will get the value of that heading as well as just a count of 1 to 10. So you may ask, okay, that works for my situation. So the biggest way that you can upgrade your XSL if you have something similar to this is you can actually just copy all of this and, potentially let's just comment out all of this. And then we can just define, we can change out the value of to be this. And then let's just change out the position to be this. So in this sense, actually, let me just take this off. So let me just take that off, and then
Corey, what's the shortcut you use to comment uncomment?
Okay, yeah. So sorry about that. So the shortcut to uncomment like this is basically I'm on a Mac, so that's Command /. But then if you're on a Windows computer, it'd be Control /. So it's a very, very useful thing to do that. Sorry if you guys were confused on what I was doing. So basically it's keyboard shortcut. Command // for Mac, and then Control / for Windows. And then again, you can just do it on a single line, or if you highlight multiple lines, it will comment out the whole chunk like that. Any more questions, Erica?
No, that's it. Just wanted to interject.
All right, cool. Cool. All right. Let's just comment out that. All right, so the biggest thing that will happen right here is we haven't defined the expand text equals yes. So if we go to the page, we'll see that we're just getting the value, the XSL isn't going to break. You're just going to get this basically not, encoded string value. So if we want to define this, so we have the paragraph. So we do XSL expand text equals yes. So the biggest thing that we did right here is, since we are on an element that isn't inside the XSL namespace, we have to explicitly define this as XSL expand text equals yes. So navigating back to the PCF file, we can see that we get its output correctly. Then going back to the XSL, we can also add the expand text to the XSL for each. And since we are in the namespace of XSL for, since this is an XSL for each, we don't have to explicitly define this. So we don't need to do that since it's already implied. And then hitting save again and navigating back to the preview, we can see that we get 1 to 10. So as you can see, it's made the XSL slightly easier to read. The biggest thing though is their XSL expand text is actually a little bit more powerful than XSL value up. And as you can see, I have two things right here on line 87 and line 88. So, using that uncomment shortcut, I'm going to throw this up here right here. And then you can see that this won't cause an error. And it, gives me the value of that heading. But then you can see the moment I uncomment this line and I hit save again, I am going to get a transformation error. So you can see that this is actually more powerful when using it on XSL text. So are there any questions, Erica, in the QA about this?
We had a handful of questions. We have a question. Okay. Can we update just part of our XSL to version 3 without breaking anything?
Unfortunately, if you mix XSL versions, you're gonna cause yourself more headaches. So the best thing is just at the top of the XSL, you can basically convert everything to 3.0 to all of them. Yeah, so don't mix XSL versions, otherwise you'll get weird errors on output.
Another question.
There.
If the UL was inside the P tag, would the curly brace position curly brace work?
So basically you're defining it as a paragraph here, and then you have a UL inside of here. And then you'd have the expand text out here.
I believe that's what's being asked.
Yeah. Yes, this would perfectly be valid. Of course, you're not creating valid HTML at that point, but it does work. So the biggest thing with expand text is it does inherit similar to CSS. So if we really wanted to, we could go all the way out to the XSL style sheet and define the expand text out here. The one thing that I caution with this, if you define yes, you are going to get those weird oddities with CSS and JavaScript and, PHP, etc. And then, of course, if you do define your XSL expand text to yes on like this XSL style sheet, then you can actually turn off expand text on certain elements, and that's where you could say expand text is no.
Another question, will expand text work with both variables and nodes in the PCF document tree?
Yes. Yeah, it will, yes. But the biggest thing with the expand text, when you do this double curly brace notation, it's going to treat the content inside of it as a string. So you won't necessarily, if there's any styling associated with it, it's not going to pull that through because it's treated in the similar fashion of XSL value of.
Yeah. And then last question for now, expand text works like XSL value of only, or can it work as XSL apply templates as well?
It only works as XSL value of. So basically all of the contents inside of here, inside of the double curly brace notation, are treated as a string. So apply templates, you can use it in apply templates if you want to, like you could do XSL apply templates, expand text is yes on this apply templates, but then you kind of lose where that expand text is coming from, and sometimes it will cause you more headaches. So I would only recommend putting it on individual elements, or even putting it on like a template up here. So you could do it on your expand text is yes.
Follow-up question, what type of oddities would you get if you put expand text on the top level node?
So you potentially would get XSL errors such as, here, I'll actually show you kind of the weird oddities that you do get. So let's say we define a div and we put expand text as yes. And then we put some CSS in here. So let's just make a CSS class with my name and like this. And then we put font size is 15 pixels. So basically, we're imitating that. We actually put this on the XSL style sheet, but we're just going to put it on this div just for demonstration purposes. So you can see that it's trying to evaluate the 15 pixels as a value. So the way that you would get around this is you would actually put this right here, but then you get kind of a similar fashion to our dependency tags. So this does work. It just kind of causes some confusion. So that's the oddity to look out for. And you can see that sometimes you get the double bracket inside and stuff like that. So it's just something to look out for.
Yeah, it looks like we actually have another question that's also saying, is there any conflict with the OU dependency tags that might be in content? Or are those pre-processed?
There is not, no.
Okay.
No conflict with dependency tags or anything like that. It's just the only thing that happens is you get the dependency tag coloring when you do this. So it does create that level of confusion potentially. If you have a new developer or a new admin looking at the XSLs, this is the only oddity that you would end up with. All right. Any
questions for now? So.
All right, awesome. All right, so continuing on from expand text, there's the concept of function chaining. So as you can see, we have the example one, then we have the three values that are comma separated. Then we have the old way. So again, using the keyboard shortcuts to uncomment, you can see that we do get the old way, and then we get the three values, and they're all lowercase. So the way that you would update something like this is let's just make a little copy of that. Let's paste it. And then let's just delete all of this off just to make it easier. So at this point, we would want to lowercase. And then let's tokenize it by a simple comma. Let's just comment out this line again. So as you can see right here, this is a lot easier to follow, in my opinion. You're taking this variable, example one, you're lowercasing it, and then you're tokenizing it. And then if you wanted to do another one, maybe you had a custom function you could apply another one after the fact. So this is limitless of how many functions you can apply. And as you can see, the more functions you add, the easier the parentheses are to actually follow, because they're not all they're all not closing at the same level. They're all together. So you can see that's very much easier to follow. And then let's just hit a save right here. And then we'll basically get the same output as before. That's basically what the function chaining is. And as you can see, it's an arrow operator, which is similar to syntax that you see in PHP. So, are there any questions, Erica, on this part? Right.
It just looks like there's a comment. Someone says sequential closing, not nested.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, it allows the parentheses to be closed right after they're open instead of all closing at the end of the statement.
There is another question. How do you send multiple variables to function chaining?
So basically what you could do right here is, basically what function chaining does is it implies the first variable of that function. So let me give you guys another case. So maybe we have, let's do a paragraph, and then we'll just do XSL value of, we just learned about expand text. And then we just want to select example 1. And then let me just fix this syntax right there. And then let me throw some syntax right there. The biggest thing is you can send multiple variables to it. You would just have to concat them together before sending, etc. So as we know, the replace function has 3 parameters, which is the way it works is it's the subject, it's the search, and then the replacement. So in this case, we would want to essentially, let's just look for the replace of value, and then just replace it with nothing. So you can see instead of replace having 3 parameters, it only needs 2 because it's implied that it's from here. And then if we go back over here, and I think I forgot a $sign. Example -1. I had a little typo in there. And you can see we just get 1, 2, 3. So you basically, to send multiple values with the function chaining, you would have to determine the operation before calling the functions on it after the fact. So basically it's the result, then you can apply your functions. Are there any other questions, Erica, at this point?
No, you're good to go.
Awesome. And one thing other that I can also add to this is you can also do this, which, you can also, potentially we want to do another one. As you can see, this becomes a lot easier to read than having all those parentheses being closed at the end. So just another thing that to note. All right, so let's just go to not the function chaining, but let's go to the concatenation shorthand.
One more question sneaking in. Can expand text and function chaining work together?
They can't. I think they will work together. It's just you have to deal with the oddities of the double thing like this. But I don't think if you do something like this, say we're trying to say that this is a variable right here, this would, as far as I know, wouldn't work in this aspect of it. So you would just do this. At this point, I would just say do that, which is this is a variable that you're trying to find. Are there any other questions with this? All right. So let's just actually get rid of that so I don't cause any XSL errors. So next step, next item is the concatenation shorthand. And as you can see, we have a var1, var2, and a var3. So the old way would just be use the concat function. Let's just do this with a space, with another space after it. So we get this Corey Madden on the update. The new way that you would want to retrofit, let's just copy paste this over. Let's just delete this over here. Let's just do this right here. Let me just replace all of these. Almost there. And then let's just comment out the old line. And then you can see that we get the same value. There are other ways to accomplish what we're doing here, such as using a function called string join, which you could use function chaining with as well. But you can see that the length of these two strings, or I mean of these two operations, are the exact same. As you can see, it does clean up your code. But another thing that you could also do, let's just copy this line, and let's just use the expand text on here. And then let's just take out the whole select. And then you can also do this as well. So you can see that we're using the concatenation shorthand with the expand text. And we still get the same, desired output. So this is the old way, this is the way with the value of, and then this is the way with the expand text. So you can see that the concatenation shorthand does help you out, as well as you could also combine this concatenation shorthand with the function chaining if you want to as well. Basic is limitless, but the thing that you also might lose, you can see that this is double pipe, which is the or in other programming languages. So that might be where you have that confusion that lies, for a new developer. Basically, both of the old way is perfectly valid. This way is perfectly, all these three ways are valid. But the biggest thing that I would say, if you're doing a concatenation shorthand or, using the function chaining or the expand text, just kind of keep the semantics of how you're using them the same throughout your XSL and not necessarily mixing them up. Of course, sometimes you do, but it's perfectly valid however which way you want to use it for this. Any questions, Erica, on this section at all? Or are there any questions to anybody that hasn't asked questions yet?
I'm not seeing any questions.
Alrighty then. So jumping into the last topic for today is XSL modes. So as stated, XSL modes are a way to separate out apply templates and template matches. So as you can see right here, when I do this right here, then I just do an apply template. Then I do get this thing down here, which was an editable region on the page that I had. You can see that, just comment this back in. And okay, because of this. So you can see that this is the way to create modes. So you can see that you have to do the attribute, the text, the comment, then the mode name, and then the first mode of current. So you can see if you had to create another mode, you would have to fully copy this and say second mode, and then second mode. So you can see that it's very, very complicated in the sense that it's a lot of code to repeat. It's potentially error prone. If somebody does come in here and remove this right here, you would get very, very weird results on output. You basically wouldn't get any of the content. So you can see that repeating these, and potentially if you want to make a third mode, you got to copy all of this code over and over and over to make it work. Biggest thing that the XSL mode allows you to do is, let me just delete this, let me just comment out this, is you define it as XSL mode. Then there's an attribute called on no match. And then we primarily use shallow copy. There are other options such as deep copy, copy only. So there's a couple other options, but we always tend to use shallow copy. And then you can just say name equals first dash mode. And you can see how much easier this is to read in terms of, oh, I'm shallow copying with the first mode. And then if I wanted to make another one, maybe we went like this, and then we did second mode. You can see that we've easily already declared another mode. We haven't had to repeat all of this code. Biggest thing with modes is basically, I will show you like the context of modes right now. So I'm going to match another paragraph. I'm going to define a second mode. I'm going to give it let's just do a div with a background color. It's actually added into a style attribute. And then let's just give it a background color of orange. I know it's going to be hideous, but it will be okay. And then we put it like this, and then we have second mode. So as you can see, this is a mode. That first mode, we're adding just a class of lead, but then the second mode, we're adding a background color of orange. And then at this point, if you wanted to manipulate the same editable region, maybe right below it for various reasons or whatever, you would just declare it as second mode. And now we have this shallow copy of second mode. So it's going to go in here. And on the second apply template, we should get a background color of orange. So as you can see, that's basically the context of modes, that they're isolated from each other. But with this new way of actually using the XSL mode, you can just declare it as one line. Any questions, Erica, from this?
Yeah, we have a question saying, can you give a basic description of what an XML mode is, or an example?
Yeah, so basically the way that I think of modes are a way to isolate template matches from each other. So in this case, let me just delete some of this so I can see it all on one screen. So right here, when we do this apply templates on the first line right here on line 138, we're defining that we want this apply template to take into consideration of a mode that's called first mode. And then on this second one, we want to say it's second mode. So the biggest thing that modes allow you to do are to manipulate data in different ways, but keep the data manipulation isolated from each other. So it's kind of almost similar to like classes in other programming languages and stuff like that. But basically what it is, so in this one, you have first mode, we're defining our no match of first mode. When this line is called, it's only going to be seen, it's only going to know that this one exists. It's never going to see this one. Then when this second mode is called, we again have the shallow copy. It will only see this one, and then it will never see the first mode. Hopefully that answers the question on what the modes are. All right. Erica, that is all I have to cover today, unless there are any other additional questions.
Yeah, if there's any other, let's open it up. If there's any other questions, you guys feel free to ask. We have plenty of time. And while I'm waiting for those, for any final questions to come in, we can hop back to the PowerPoint briefly just to wrap up. So next month's Training Tuesday is going to be April 30th, and we're going to be covering advanced components, getting into using components with XSL, and doing some more complicated things with those. And in between now and then is our OUTC 19, our annual conference. Hopefully I will see some or all of you there. If you're attending and you liked this Training Tuesday and you want to know more about XSL 3.0, Corey will also be leading a hands-on workshop on this topic, so make sure you register for that. I believe that registration for the conference has closed, but it's always always worth checking in, and all the resources from it will be posted online as well. So if you miss out on a workshop you want to attend, we'll have that information for you post-conference. So keep an eye out for that. Next month, April Training Tuesday, Advanced Components. And as always, the recording of this session will be posted on our support site by the end of today. And before you leave, make sure to fill out our feedback survey. It really helps us to know what you liked about this and what you're looking for in terms of more Training Tuesdays, because these are all for you. We're doing this for you guys, so we want to know what you want to learn more about. All right, and one last final call for any questions.
All right. Yeah. So So like Erica said, at OUCC, we are going to be doing a hands-on workshop with XSL 3.0, and we're going to go into one other additional topic, and then we can explore these more during the workshop session. So I highly recommend, getting into those workshops. And then, of course, if you just want to hear my voice again, it's all right if you want to do that as well. So, all right.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending this month's Training Tuesday. I hope you learned a lot and have a great rest of your day.